What's going on, YouTube? We're back at it for another video. Today we're talking about the Tunnels of Terror. First expansion that we'll be seeing from Back for Blood. Thank God it's finally here, or at least finally we have an official release date coming up on April 12th. More content coming in. Should be exciting. I'm a bit skeptical about a few things. We're going to talk about that through the video. Now, when it comes to finding information on this, it was kind of difficult in a way. I thought through the official channels like their Twitter page or the Back for Blood website itself. Sadly enough, the Back for Blood website doesn't have any information on this, which is kind of a drop the ball moment in my opinion. But at the same time, we were able to find some information from some of those other websites like GameSpot, Game Radar, some of those game journalists. More than likely probably have some of that early access to the content, just running through it, getting their review on it, and getting some of those details ready for that April 12th launch. You know, I wish they'd throw it Reaper's way as well. I'd love to have some of that information ready and some of that content ready for that official launch day. But at the same time, I'm more than excited to wait until April 12th and then jump into this and just get that fresh experience with the content along with everybody else. But it would be nice to have it a bit early. But there's a few things that we need to talk about with this. And from some of the information that I've gathered, for people that are playing this free on Xbox Game Pass, it looks as if you will have to pay for the DLC in order to access the DLC content. But one great mechanic that they've thrown in with this, or with the game itself, is that if you have one buddy that's possibly already got the annual pass or the deluxe edition, ultimate edition, you will be able to join up with them and actually access that content through them, be able to try it out yourself, which is another thing to note. If you'd like to try this out for yourself, you possibly don't have a buddy that has that annual pass or somebody with the DLC already, hit that link down in the description, follow me over at Twitch, join the Discord. More than happy to run a few people through this. Obviously, there's only going to be 3 spots, but as soon as this launches, more than likely for that entire next week, I'll be running through this, trying to make some new deck builds, just accessing the content, getting all the information I could possibly get out of it, and just making some solid content for everyone, obviously. But at the same time, with those 3 slots, you know, I could cycle people through, give you access to it, check it out, whether or not, you know, you want to buy it yourself, or possibly, you know, everybody knows everybody has different things in life, different financial situations. Maybe it's not something you could buy on that April 12th. Don't worry, you can jump in with Reaper. I'm more than happy to run you through it, give you that experience, and then possibly, you know, you either find out whether or not you want to buy it or possibly buy it later on, but still have access to that content somewhere around the release date. That way you're not feeling a little bit left out. But besides that point, let's get into the content itself. Now, obviously, we'll talk about the first thing, which is going to be a couple of new weapons. Apparently, there's going to be 12 new legendary weapons, and I don't know whether or not that's just going to be 12 brand new weapons, or it's going to be, you know, some brand new weapons. As you'll see, you know, let me move my head real quick. We've got a new melee weapon for sure. We've got this sledgehammer type of thing. It's got a coil in the middle of it, you know, obviously for almost like a shock absorber. But at the front of it, I can't tell whether or not that looks like shotgun shells at the end of it. Could just be some type of blunt force object in front of it, or I don't know what I'm saying when it comes to a sledgehammer. I'm not an expert on them, but it looks a bit different from what I've seen from other sledgehammers, so there may be something to that. Hopefully it's a bit more damage, maybe a bit more stamina used in the fire axe, and a longer swing time, but we'll see coming forward. Now, they showcase the RPK right there. I'll tell you right now, RPK, you know, we've got some new attachments coming, apparently also new legendary attachments as well. Hopefully some of these attachments really make that RPK worthwhile, because I'll tell you right now, with how slow that thing fires, the amount of damage it deals, and the reload time, even with reload speed increased, it's just not enough to even make that weapon worth it, in my opinion. So hopefully there'll be some changes to some of those attachments that make it a bit more worthwhile and give us a bit more versatility when it comes to our options. Now, obviously, it looks like an M4 on the left there. Could be a new variant. I'm not really sure. It just could be a different skin on top of it that gives it that no stock look. But obviously, we also see the scar. So more than likely, some of these legendary weapons may be different variations of the weapons that we've already had previously. We can't expect them to completely drop in 12 new weapons, even though I'd probably love to see that. And that'd be a great addition to it, but more than likely it's probably going to be about 6 new weapons, more than likely, and then just changes to some of those legendary weapons coming forward, possibly even things that could add different abilities to them, maybe explosive rounds, maybe coming incendiary rounds. They talk about warped chests, which, I couldn't find any information on these chests. We'll more than likely see some more information as we get closer to April 12th on this. But, with my own imagination and possible variabilities of what this could be, it could be like a normal weapons chest or an upgraded version of that weapons chest that could possibly give us this RNG moment where, like I said before, we may see some different ammunition types coming with some of these legendary weapons. Explosive rounds, maybe it gives us one magazine of it, or possibly for the rest of the time we have this legendary weapon, it always has incendiary rounds. That'd be really cool to see, especially with this new difficulty mode coming up. Apparently it's called No Hope. I thought it was going to be like survival, and I'm pretty sure I'm almost spot on with it, maybe a bit more difficult. I mean, they call it No Hope, and I'm just, I'm getting flashbacks from that original Nightmare moment, and maybe it's even harder than that. It's going to be a doozy to get through, but yeah, we're going to make some solo guides on that one, and more than likely going to be playing that difficulty mode with more than a few people. Probably won't jump into it immediately, but we'll probably check it out on that first day after we've run a bit of the new content already, gotten a bit of information, worked with a few different decks. But that's something that's pretty exciting to see going forward. At least this time it's not going to be one of those difficulty modes that we don't know that we're walking into something that's damn near impossible. But right after that, let's talk about the cleaners. I'm kind of, I'm still skeptical. We don't have full-on information with these cleaners, what their abilities are going to be, but obviously they both look like they're melee. I know everybody loves melee. Melee is really great in the game. It's fun to play. But when we're adding two different cleaners to the list, I mean, we already have Holly, which is a great melee. Charisse looks like it's going to be another one that's pretty much just like Holly, just as great, possibly. Who knows what her abilities are going to be when it comes to that melee, but maybe she starts off with a fire axe, which is going to be solid for a melee DPS type of class. But right next to her is going to be Hing, and apparently in the detail, or the small details I've gotten off this guy, it's going to be apparently he's just some guy that worked at a restaurant. Doesn't really look like it, in my opinion. He looks more like he's off in the bayou, he's in the swamp, he's a hunter. That's what it looks like to me. But I'm surprised they didn't put a meat cleaver on him. If he's somebody from a restaurant, that would have been interesting as a different type of melee weapon thrown in there. Maybe we'll see it later on, but all we see right now is just going to be a hatchet in his hand. But when it comes down to both of them looking like they're going to be a melee cleaner, I was expecting, one melee cleaner and then something that might be a support role, something I was kind of toying around in my own mind, which would be a solid cleaner with somebody that would work for economy. He'd have a passive ability that gives everybody like 10% discount at all the different safe room shops. Obviously not stacking it, but just everybody has that 10% down. He possibly has that, passive ability for himself where he gains 250 additional copper every time he's in any one of the safe rooms. Something that would just build on the economy side of things. That way you didn't have to build your deck out with multiple economy cards. Maybe even having his own passive ability of that of like money grubbers, maybe a reduced amount where it's kind of like that 3% chance to get an additional up to 35 copper. That's something I would have liked to have seen, but at the same time, we don't know what these cleaners' abilities are going to be. There may be something interworked with that. Maybe they're not fully melee. Maybe one of them is kind of like melee support. They've got some different abilities going for them. We'll see in the coming future, but that's one thing I had to note about that. It's kind of my skepticism on it. I really didn't, I'd rather see one melee, one DPS, or one melee, one kind of support cleaner. But support cleaner is the thing that I feel like the game needs more than anything, because Carly, it's nice to have that 50% use speed, but when it comes to Hoffman as another support build, he's generally optimized just for grenades, and he can be an overkill DPS type of cleaner, but at the same time, once you run out of grenades, he's kind of lackluster. I mean, his ammunition drop from kills, he has to be the one killing, and it's not every time that he's killing. It's just not as much as you'd expect, or just not enough, in my opinion, to make him a worthwhile type of support cleaner. So I'd like to either see changes to some of that. I know we've already seen changes to where he now drops like Molotovs or any type of offensive accessory. So they're pushing in the right direction, but it's something I'd like to see in the coming future. Maybe, hopefully, one of these cleaners does add a little bit more to that support side of things when it comes to the different types of groups that we can make with some of these cleaners. Now, right after that, let's talk about the Ridden hives. Now, this is another one of those things I'm kind of skeptical about. I expected with the Tunnels of Terror, when we first saw the name of this, I thought there was going to be a new campaign act, and it kind of doesn't look like we're getting a new campaign act. It looks like we're getting a little bit something different. You'll notice with the Ridden hives, it says all new PvE activity. Now with this, the description that I've seen from some of those other websites describes this as 7 new dungeons that'll be like a labyrinth that will be going through those tunnels. If you remember on Act 4, the final mission, we drop down in there with the Abomination. There's a bunch of tunnels underground. I thought this was going to be one of those moments where we'd have a new campaign act where we start diving down into these tunnels. We've got a whole new boss underneath there. You know, we experience new mutations, different variations of things. But apparently, with the Ridden hives, these are going to be possibly mini act campaigns. I'd imagine they're either going to be one of two things. We're either going to have 7 different dungeons that are essentially like one little bit extended long mission, which does seem to be equivalent with some of the other acts. You know, 7 different missions of one single mission going through, probably no safe rooms. But what I'd like to see that maybe a bit better is each 7 of these has like 3 mini missions, not exactly that long, but enough to give you a different variation of content going between each one of these different tunnel labyrinth style things. And possibly having not exactly safe rooms, but similar to that mission on Act 3 where we jump into the bus and then we land down in front of that gate. It's not exactly a safe room, but it's an area where we have the shop, and then we push forward once opening that gate, getting into that compound where everybody was just cultivated together for the body dump. But that would be interesting, but at the same time, I'm kind of let down if we don't get a new campaign act. I really wanted something that would be a little bit more content like that, but I'm hopeful to see these Ridden hives possibly be something that may be a bit more extended, because of each 7 of these different Ridden hive labyrinths, or dungeons if you will, does have 3 missions within each one of them. That's going to be more than enough content. That feels a bit more than what one act of the campaign would be. So kind of at one of those toss-ups. We'll see as the information comes out in the future. I'm definitely excited about it, but when I first saw it, I thought it was going to be a survival mode, and then we'd also get a campaign act. Hopefully that's something we'll see in the coming future, where it's just like we'll take on, we'll get one of those survival missions where either it's the swarm coming in and we're constantly having this survive as long as you can. It's a larger area that would be really cool, where we're just taking on hordes for a timer as long as we can. That would be interesting. Or the swarm pushes us along a mission area and we have to survive that entire mission area as constant hordes pile upon us. That would be interesting. Who knows? I'm just kind of spitballing some ideas at this point and rambling, but let's keep it going. It also says that we're getting warp chests and skull totems. Now, these two, or did I already talk about warp chest? Kind of losing my mind. I think I already did. But skull totems. Now, skull totems, I forgot to mention this earlier. It's one of those things that immediately I just get a thought of Halo. If you remember, each one of those skulls had a modifier. As soon as you picked one of them up, it completely made your HUD disappear, gave you more damage. Melee took more damage. Some of them gave you boosts or some type of buff as well. I believe that may be something that we're looking at. Now, hopefully it's not like Halo where, we just pick up one of these skulls and it just makes it harder for us. I'd like to see some of these skull totems act as if like a corruption card that as soon as we activate it, if we survive through it, get to that next safe room, we'll get some type of bonus to our copper income, something that's going to increase economy or give us possibly each one of us a different attachment. Maybe that's something that could be activated from it. That would be interesting to see. But at the same time, if it's just a skull totem where it just makes the difficulty harder as soon as we activate it, it'll be fun for like a one-time round, just to check it out. But over the long run, if it doesn't give us something that increases our copper income, it's something that'll kind of become a dead accent to the game in a way. But we will see 15 plus cards. I don't know what 15 plus means. I'd like a definitive amount of cards. What this looks like to me is like, okay, we may get 15 straight off the bat, and then they'll trickle in more cards as we've seen through the updates previously, where in between, from launch to now with the DLC coming, we'll see a couple of cards coming in along that possibly. Maybe there's some things that they're testing with that could be a bit broken. Maybe they need to tweak it a bit before throwing it in. Who knows? There's a lot of problems when it comes to coding some of these cards. Some things could have unintended aspects to them as soon as they throw them in that, for whatever reason. I mean, I've taken some coding classes myself. There's been a couple of moments where I've had moments where I'm doing everything right with the coding, but it never compiles. It doesn't do exactly what it should be. There's just random variables. I mean, you could almost look at computers like humans. There are flaws within them that do not make them perfect, and some things just happen out of random. You never know what's going to happen with it. Sometimes it's just a crapshoot. But right after that, obviously, we'll talk about the skins real quick. I've already had somebody in the Discord say, not sure about these hazmat suits. Yeah, it looks interesting, but I'll tell you right now, I think this is Hoffman, and Hoffman is looking a lot heftier than he probably should be. They really did not give him a solid look when it comes to that hazmat suit right there. Good Lord, he's got the Santa gut going right there. Well, that's going to be pretty funny. I'd like to have that hazmat suit for, if we got to go through No Hope or we got to go through Nightmare difficulty in these Ridden hives, I definitely want Hoffman's, because that just looks funny to me. But the rest of them, it's just a colorful, different look to it. I think Holly's looks the best. I like the style of the helmet right there. I think that may be Doc right there. I can't tell. You can't even see their face right here. But I think that's the only one that could be Hoffman right there. Now, we've got 3 new mutations when it comes to the special infected. I've kind of been spitballing around with some of the people in chat over last night after I found this information. We talked about the urchin. I hate spitters. I hate hawkers. Now, stalkers, I don't have a big problem with them because I can actually dodge their attack. And, their mechanic is quite justifiable, in my opinion. If you're not looking for it, that thing can grab you and then it just starts dragging you away. But if you see it, you're able to dodge the attack from them and then be able to take them out. There's a mechanic to get out of it. Whereas with the spitters and the hawkers, you got to be in front of something. Otherwise, that aimbot is going to hit you every single time. And that spitter is devastating. The hawker is devastating. I mean, it just shoots you off. Sometimes you get hit by that hawker and it's like you go a mile down that mission. Like, unreal sometimes. But spitballing when it comes to the urchin, we don't know the full details on this thing, but I'm getting this thought in my head that this thing is going to be similar to a combination of a spitter and a hawker, where it's not necessarily like the hawker where you get spit on and you get trapped in place, but it's like the hawker in the way once you get spit on, you start taking damage and you need somebody to melee something off. Maybe there's one of these, I don't know what they're called, these spindles coming out of their back. If you ever seen that one movie, that's what it reminds me of. Or Splinter, I think that was the name of the movie. It's what it looks like to me, and it's creepy. But maybe those splinters get on you as soon as it spits on you, and it slows you down at the same time. So if you're away from enemies or away from teammates, you can't really get over to them to have them melee these splinters off of you or something. Maybe that's what it's like. I'm just kind of spitballing on that idea. When it comes to the shredder, though, best idea I can come up with this one is it's a wretch and an exploder, or not an exploder, a wretch and a what do we call the throw up guy? I can't remember the name of him. It's the throw up guy and the wretch combined together. So it's more than likely possible that once this guy explodes, he's going to spit acid everywhere, whereas he has the attack of the wretch itself instead. So maybe he's got more damage with those claws that he's like shredding you with, or possibly as soon as you get close to him, he starts shredding you with the outside of his body. He looks like he's got a couple of spikes on him, who knows. But that seems about the route with that one. And the Ripper, guarantee you it's going to be a crusher, but it's going to be even more devastating. It's going to be something that eats away your health more than causes trauma damage. He'll more than likely he'll grab you up with one spike and then start spiking you with the other arm or something. Could be something similar to that. It's what it looks like to me, especially with the weak spot being on his face. It's got to be something closely related to the crusher. It could be something that grabs you, or it could be a mix of the two in a way, where it's kind of like It's a tall boy. It possibly has the charge ability, and it has like a spike ability throwing out you, but it still has that weak spot like the Crusher. Maybe it's something that can just rip you up into the air with some type of spiked arm. We'll see in the coming future. You know, this is all speculation. Could be any number of things when it comes to that. But that's pretty much going to be it. I think I've covered everything on this. We'll see more information coming in the future. And like I said, if you're somebody that is playing this on Xbox Game Pass, you're not sure whether or not you want to buy this up yourself, hit that link down in the description and follow me over at Twitch. You know, contact me over there when this comes out, or hit me up in the Discord. I'll try and get a roster of people coming in. You know, I don't know how many people are going to want to join in and try this content out, or just, you know, in general want to play with me or some of the other people inside of the Discord as well that may have the DLC at the same time. I don't know how many people in there have it already, but if you're looking to try it out before you actually buy it, or possibly don't have the ability to buy it at that time, but you still want to experience that content, hit those channels over there, hit that link down in the description. More than happy to run some people with myself, and there's probably going to be a couple of other people that'll have that DLC and be able to run some of you through it as well, since can only run 3 people at a time. You know, I'll try to cycle people in and out, get some people rolling through it, and help some of those people once we get to that no hope night or no hope difficulty mode. I'm more than likely going to mess up more than a few times when it comes to the no hope difficulty, getting flashbacks from that original nightmare difficulty. But that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this. You know, we'll see as time goes on, if there's more information. You know, I'll do some more updates on this if we get more information closer to this April 12th. Making a couple of videos on seeing what we've got to offer when it comes to the content from this. But at the same time, biggest keynote is that I really hope that we get some type of campaign act with this, or something that has a bit more story. Hopefully these Ridden hives have something to it that gives us more to play with than hopefully just 7 different missions. But I've already talked about it. You already know. I'm just hopeful that all this content is going to give us everything that we've really been needing as this game has progressed on in time, to really carry us on until the next DLC as well. And hopefully we'll continuously be seeing more cards getting put into play, that we've got more versatility when it comes to those builds that we'll have. And one thing I'd really like to see is them dropping a cleaner or 2 in between each one of these DLCs. There's more than a few options that they can work with. They've got a lot of things. More than likely, they've got a lot of ideas going around as to what cleaners need to come with each one of the DLC, but at the same time, would be nice as to just drop in a cleaner, a couple of cards, really kind of change up the gameplay in between those DLCs, just to give us a bit more content to work with as we wait for that next upcoming expansion. But that being said, hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope you guys have a good one.